global sales champion BYD has met its Waterloo in Turkey. In January this year, BYD sold 3,866 vehicles in Turkey. But by June, that number had dropped to just 83. That's a 98% plunge in 5 months. For the entire first half of the year, BYD sold a total of 6,809 units in Turkey, less than what it sold in a single month last June. That was 6,857 vehicles. Compared with 25,501 units in the first half of last year, that's a drop of nearly 70%. The market has all but vanished. But Turkey's auto market hasn't collapsed. Over 440,000 vehicles were sold in the first half, roughly flat year on year. But looking at individual brands, some are thriving, others are struggling. Locally produced Renault, Togg, and Hyundai are growing. Chinese brands focusing on petrol and hybrids, Modern Jayco and MG, are also rising. Tesla, which like BYD focuses on pure EVs, also couldn't hold up and took a heavy hit. So, the problem isn't demand. It lies elsewhere. Since the beginning of the year, BYD hasn't shipped any new vehicles to Turkey. Import permits have been suspended. Everything sold has been from existing inventory. 2 years ago, the scene here was completely different. BYD signed a $1 billion agreement here, with Turkey's president personally attending the ceremony. Now, the plant is idle. Equipment has been cleared out and monthly sales have fallen to double digits. The honeymoon period was so brief. In just about a year, how did BYD in Turkey go back to square one overnight? Let's rewind to 2023. That year, the EU launched an anti-subsidy investigation into Chinese EVs and then gradually raised tariffs. By 2024, Chinese EVs exported to Europe faced additional duties of up to 45.3%. The route to Europe was blocked. Chinese automakers needed to find a springboard to enter the EU with zero tariffs. Turkey thus came into view. Though not an EU member, thanks to the customs union agreement, cars produced in Turkey can enter the EU market tariff-free. Plus, Turkey itself has 85 million people, making it the largest auto market in the Middle East and the fifth largest in Europe. Geography, tariff advantages, and market size, these three advantages combined, Chinese automakers began flooding into Turkey. But Turkey's market opening has never been unconditional. As early as March 2023, Turkey had already imposed an extra 40% tariff on Chinese EVs. In June 2024, it extended the measure to all Chinese trade cars, with a minimum duty of $7,000 per vehicle. At the same time, Turkey left a loophole. As long as you invest and build a plant in Turkey, you can be exempt from that extra 40% tariff. Just days after that policy took effect, BYD arrived. With Turkey's president personally present, BYD signed a $1 billion investment deal to build a vehicle plant in Manisa. For a while, the news went viral both at home and abroad. Almost everyone believed that BYD was about to secure another core overseas market. After the deal was signed, BYD enjoyed a full set of policy perks: full tariff exemption on equipment imports, tiered corporate income tax reductions, low-cost allocation of industrial land, and exemption from additional duties on imported vehicles. It didn't miss a single benefit. Riding this policy window, by the end of 2024, BYD launched 9 models at once. In the full year of 2025, it sold 45,537 units, more than 5 times the previous year. Its plug-in hybrids captured over half of the segment, and its EVs firmly held a top 3 position. For a time, it was riding high. But Turkey's real calculation had been set long before. Signing was only the first step. What they truly wanted was never the factory, it was the technology. The local brand Togg had been waiting for this chance, hoping to use foreign investment to complete its electrification upgrade and make up for its shortcomings in new energy. So after the signing, the conditions began to escalate. Technology transfer was deeply tied to factory approvals and tax incentives. Want incentives? Sure. Share your battery, motor, and electronic control technologies. Not sharing? Then no deal. Faced with this demand, BYD didn't hesitate to hit the pause button. It shifted focus to advancing its plans in Hungary, Saudi Arabia, and elsewhere. The partnership broke down. After the talks collapsed, Turkey struck back with 2 moves aimed at BYD. First, it raised the special consumption tax on EVs from 10% to 25%, and on some models it went as high as 170%. BYD's price advantage was whipped out in one stroke. Second, it revoked the tax exemption treatment. All previously promised tariff waivers were withdrawn. If the project couldn't materialize, BYD would have to repay all the previous waived duties in full. This June, BYD publicly confirmed that its Turkey plant had been fully suspended and that Hungary plant was now the priority. The factory in Manisa, Turkey, has yet to break ground. Equipment has been gradually transferred to Hungary and Brazil. Meanwhile, the Szeged plant in Hungary is scheduled to start production in the fourth quarter of this year. Just as BYD hit the brakes in Turkey, Chery was flooring the accelerator. Having entered around the same time, Chery's plant plans are still progressing steadily. In the first half of this year, Chery sold nearly 20,000 vehicles, 6,623 Moda and Jayco, 12,690 Chery, ranking first among Chinese brands. Why is Chery so determined? Its main models are petrol and hybrids, which do not qualify for EU new energy subsidies anyway. Building a plant in Turkey is aimed at covering the local Middle Eastern and Eastern European markets. It doesn't have to get entangled in complex technology bargaining, so decisions are simpler and execution is more decisive. MG follows a similar logic. It has formed deep ties with local giants, and plant construction negotiations are now in the final stages. Renault, Toyota, Hyundai, Fiat, and TOG have all largely relied on local production to stabilize their footholds. So the answer is clear. Whoever can root production in Turkey will be the one that survives. However, Turkey's tax reform policy also has a clear tilt. Scrapping a petrol car and replacing it with a locally produced new car allows a full exemption from the special consumption tax. But this policy only covers petrol and hybrid vehicles, not pure EVs. That is to say, as long as Chery and MG meet localization requirements, they can enjoy substantial tax exemptions, making their cost-performance ratios ever more attractive. But even if BYD completes its plant, it won't benefit from this perk. What's worse, Turkey is not an EU member state. Zero tariff exports are possible, but purchase subsidies, government procurement, and public fleet orders, none of those are available. The value of EU springboard has been diluted. So Turkey's market is not impossible to play in, but you can't force it with the same playbook. In the past, we opened our market in exchange for technology. Now others are eyeing our technology. To give or not to give? That's a question every Chinese automaker must reconsider. BYD's answer was blunt: no. Behind this lies an industry in a new phase of globalization, relearning how to negotiate, how to strategize, and how to hold its bottom line. As we take our proprietary core technologies to the world, it's no longer just about exporting cars or setting up plants. It's about exporting a whole, mature new energy vehicle solution. From Turkey to Hungary, we're also proving with our strength that technological confidence is the greatest foundation for going global. BYD's Turkey plant has stopped, but Chinese automakers' global push hasn't paused. Regarding Turkey's unfair trade barriers, China's Ministry of Commerce has already filed a complaint with the WTO. This global game for China's new energy industry may have only just begun.